Thank you for joining us for this part 5 in the 7-part series of how to prepare for imminent war. Of course, you know I'm going to say if you haven't watched those first 4 episodes, go back and do that first. But then today we're going to talk about 7 different things that you can do in the event that you know you've got a little bit of time. You might see war afar off, it's coming your direction, it is imminent, but you've got a little bit of time to work with. Don't go away as we cover those topics next. Thank you for joining us. And today we're talking about 7 different things you can do. But literally, I want to say this on the front end. Everything this channel is about, and many other channels that you might find online, everything our channel is about is the things that you can do in the event that you still have time. Obviously, there is so much more than what I could cover today in just 7 easy to bullet point give you a list of things to do in the event that war is imminent and you have time. I want you to live a lifestyle of preparedness. I want every day to be just in a attitude of preparedness so that you, whether you have a lot of time or no time at all, you're already there, you're already prepared. But in the event that you see war imminent, I want to just talk through several things that you might not have considered that, hey, yeah, let's get that thing checked off the list of importance. Let's go ahead and do that now instead of waiting to the very last moment. The first thing I want to mention is your doctor visits. Obviously, you don't probably need me to expound on that, but I would remind you there's a lot of preventative medicine that a lot of us participate in that is important. For instance, any kind of dental care. Yes, you might just barely be sensing you have a cavity coming in and you're holding off till it gets really painful before you go to the dentist and you're just waiting. Well, if war is imminent, go ahead and get it done now. If you haven't been to a dentist in a while, I want you to go in and get every single thing addressed that might be necessary so that if you can't go to a dentist for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you've got everything covered that could be on the front end, okay? And same with your eyes. A lot of us wear contacts or glasses. If you do wear contacts, you probably know you need to have a prescription that's filled for at least a year out from where you are. If you need to get another pair of glasses or a renewed prescription for those, get it now. This is the time. If you have the money and a good, exceptionally well spoken of doctor that can do eye surgery to correct your eyes completely or to do your cataract removal that you're just waiting on, go ahead. This is the time to do it now. While we're talking about all those doctor visits getting done and out of the way for you, let me make sure I mention prescriptions. Obviously, you're wanting to have as far out as you can of that prescription already in your possession. So if you can talk to your doctors and say, hey, could I get an extra 6 months of this filled now? Just see what they'll do, because some of them will work with you and help. You want as far out as you can on all of those prescriptions. So get them now. All right, moving on to number 2. I want you to consider this. It's time to make sure that you have all of your papers updated on the front end. For instance, I want to make sure that you have an updated and valid passport. Now, if you don't, you better apply from scratch. If you need to just renew one that you've already gotten, renew it now. It's important. And if you are in a position where war comes close to you and they say, hey, show us your papers, you want every single one of those updated and current beforehand so you're not trying to scramble at the last or not even sure where to find them at all. For instance, to apply for a passport here in the United States, you have to actually send them, I believe, your birth certificate. Now, you don't want to get that caught up in the middle of war where you've sent off your birth certificate and you don't have that or a passport. That would be a bad spot. So go ahead and do that now. And while you're thinking of that, I want you to go ahead and remember to get all of the documents you need in order. If there's clearance to go across a certain bridge or clearance into a hospital or Army facility that you need to make sure that you have that parking pass or that clearance pass updated, now's the time to do it. Make sure all of your papers are in order, and this is the time to go ahead and get the extra ones. And I would, of course, make sure that if you have a carry permit or a concealed carry permit of some sort, see when that expiration date is and get it re-upped. Make sure that that is current so that for the days ahead, you are not scrambling because it ran out halfway through a crisis. If you haven't seen it already, let me just direct your attention over to an episode that we did a while back on how to get all of your documents in order. We'll link that above and below this video so that you can see that and have a whole list you can download of what are the important documents you might want to have for each member of your family. The third thing I want to cover today is encouraging you to take a real strong, hard look at where you're living currently. Evaluate what kind of crisis you might know of that could come to your area and how imminent it might be. And if you do have time, now is the time to go ahead and move. I know that sounds burdensome. It sounds maybe completely daunting to you, especially if you have any kind of disability or people in your family that need you where you're at. But if it makes sense for your situation, boy, get to where you need to be. Now, we're going to be doing an episode that's dedicated just to that in the future. And there is so much to the idea of moving strategically that you need to pay attention to more factors than just, hey, I don't want to live in the city or I don't want to live in the country if crisis comes. There are a number of different things to think about. One of the resources I've looked at before and really appreciated was this book called Strategic Relocation. Now, this has not been updated since, I believe, 2013, which makes it rather outdated in some of the data that they have put in here. It was put together by a father and son who are both into all kinds of statistics and things like that. But it has in here, it has maps and politics, demographics, geological things to consider, the weather in each place. There are so many factors that they cover. If you even get an outdated copy of this book, it's going to help you say, hey, I'm glad that they at least mentioned that so I could have that in my list of things to consider when I'm looking at where we might need to relocate. There's so much more I could say on that, but we'll go on for now to the next point. I want you to consider if nuclear threat to your area is something that needs to be considered. Because for everyone that is not a threat, but if you are concerned that it might be, you've got to order a CBRN respirator and mask that is going to work for you and each member of your family right now on the front end. You know those are going to be completely unavailable in the event that crisis gets so near to you. If war is imminent and it's with nuclear threats involved, it's too late at that point. And it's very difficult to create for yourself an effective ad hoc type mechanism that's going to work as well as a full CBRN. That's all four things there that you need the mask to cover. Now, we've done an episode on this in the past. We'll link to that here so that you can watch and make sure you've got the iodine tablets that you might need or the potassium iodide tablets, the respirator mask, and I would make sure you have the suit and gloves to go with it. If that's a threat coming to your area, now's the time, while you have time, to get prepared with what's needed for that event. All right, next, I want you to consider this. Right now, there is a real difficult time going on over in the Ukraine. And one of the things that we've noticed as we've looked on to their crisis that they are going through is that banks shut down quickly when tragedy is in the air. When crisis is happening, it's very hard to pull out any kind of money. Now, do not hear me say, go pull out all of your money from the banks. That is not the solution, and that is not what I'm saying. But I do want to encourage you, consider what you're going to do in the event that the banks do shut down. If that were to happen, you would need some money, at least initially, to have on hand. And some of you don't. So I want to encourage you right now, first of all, pay off as many debts as you can, as many as you're capable of paying off, so that nobody can come to you and call on the note right in the middle of a crisis and put you in a hot water situation. And secondly, I want you to pull some money out of the bank. It probably won't buy you a whole lot of time, but in the event that the banks were to shut down at the beginning of a crisis, at least initially, you're prepared with some money in hand. This next point I'm most excited about because it's something all of us can do, and it's got a lot of variety to it, all right? I want you to get training right now on the front end in every way you possibly can, and even certified in some of these areas. Let me give you some examples. If you have ever been trained in CPR and AED, man, get that renewed so you're already ready in how to do that in the event of a crisis. Get your EMT training and get certified if you can. It'll get you clearance into places where there might be crisis going on, where you can help so much more so than if you didn't have that training. And if you're stuck at home, if you're just with your loved ones, you'd be so glad that you knew some sort of even basic medical knowledge that that's going to offer you. If you aren't into that stuff, if you're scared of blood and just cannot do that, what about ham radio training? What about getting certified as a ham radio operator? If there is time before war comes, man, this is the time to do it. Enjoy the process. Let it be something fun and not scary and stressful to you because you're not in the middle of a crisis. Now, I know there's a whole lot of this that you can get online and through YouTube videos and all of that. I want you to get hands-on training in your local area with somebody who knows what they're doing, who can show you the nuances and how to do it wrong and how to get it right and all of that. You don't learn that from just watching on YouTube. I want you to get training in survival skills. There's got to be a survival school somewhere in your state or in your country or wherever you find yourself that can help you. Get to that survival school if you're able to. They even often have courses for young children or for very old people that might need to go just a little bit carefully on some of the terrain or whatever. They make provision for that. So there's not an excuse for us to say, oh no, I'm too young or too old or too decrepit or whatever. All of us can get some kind of training. Bushcraft is another one. Now, bushcraft training is fantastic for some of those outdoor survival type skills, but it doesn't necessarily save your life in the event of a war. So it's only part of the training that you need. But bushcrafting is another excellent training that you're able to get. I was able to take a course a couple of years ago and take it again. I've taken it twice, I think now, on how to give birth or how to help someone give birth in the event that no doctor is present. Now, talk about invaluable training. If a war is imminent, you're going to want to know how to help someone give birth if a doctor isn't present. And I took another course on how to do suturing, how to suture up deep wounds in the event that a doctor isn't present. Now, I'm not volunteering for that. I'm not planning to use that skill unless there is a real crisis. But you know I'm thankful to have it. It makes me less squeamish. It makes me feel empowered that, yes, in a real tragic event, I could step up to the plate and do what needed to be done to help. Also, combat training. Some of you are capable. Some of you are willing. You have the equipment that you need. Get that combat training right now on the front end. If you need some sort of home defense training, get that. There are active live shooter trainings that you can go to where they train you how to handle a situation like that. And God forbid that any of us should have to live through that. But if you're in an event far from home or something and a shooter comes in the door, do you know what to do? This is the time to go ahead and get that training right now. And all of us can get some of it. We might not get all of it, but all of us can get some kind of extra training. Get everyone in your family a get home bag or a go bag, whatever you like to call it, but a backpack or some sort of a bag. Maybe not a backpack at all. It doesn't have to look like everyone else's, but some sort of a go bag that's going to have the basic necessities for each person in the family, including those prescriptions we talked about earlier, including any kind of special needs that each family member has. that's gonna take care of just your basics. And I know you can find a myriad of options for excellent training on that through online sources. Just Google it, contents for my go bag or get home bag, whatever you like to call it. Bug out bag, some people call it. But think through what is necessary for your family members and make sure everyone has one and knows where it's at and that it's updated for the season that you're in. Okay, we've covered our 7 topics, but I want to give you one bonus point, and that is this. In the day and age that we live right now, where we're filming this at the moment, you might see this years from now and it not apply to you. I hope it doesn't. But in the day and age that we live in, I think it's important for me to give you this bonus point, and that is go out as soon as you are able right now today from this, watching this, and get yourself educated on what the global reset is. You've probably heard someone mention that before. You may not know fully what it is, but it's now that is the time, the correct time for you to get fully educated and a good understanding of what that entails and how it's going to affect drastically your present and your future if it isn't stopped or changed or refocused in some way. So go out and get that education for yourself. I would strongly recommend, and I will link down below this if you'll expand the description below this. If you're watching in YouTube, you'll see that I have linked a video where Charlie Kirk is talking. He's the one that started Turning Point USA, I believe. But he was interviewed at a church, and I just thought he did such an excellent job of explaining it, just breaking it down for the very basic mindset understanding, like people like me that just need it simple. And I want to make sure that you have access to that, so I'll link it down below. It's important for us to take this seriously, but not live in fear, and to just simply make sure we've got everything that we can do done before crisis ever comes our way. I hope you'll take the time to share this with someone you love, and I hope you'll join us next time. We've got 2 more episodes. Until I see you again, the Lord bless you. And will you go out and pass that blessing along to someone else today? Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye. Hey there, before you go, I would love to share just a quick word out of the Holy Bible with you. This is right there in the middle, in that book of Proverbs written by the wisest man who ever lived, King Solomon. And he wrote in chapter 22, verse 3, these words: "Sensible people, or the wise, will see trouble coming and avoid it. They'll hide themselves. But an unthinking person will walk right into it, and they will regret it later." It's getting dark out there. Now go out and glow.